One of my favorite experiences in any open world game is when something that must have been spontaneous still feels scripted. When emergent moments become set pieces by happy accident. Many of my favorite games have this quality, such as State of Decay, Sea of Thieves, and PUBG. In a recent 4-hour session with Arc Raiders, I saw signs that it too has this elusive yet irresistible trait. For the uninitiated, Arc Raiders is an extraction shooter. One thing that interests me about extraction shooters is that the shapes they've taken have been more varied than those of battle royale games, arguably the subgenre du jour that preceded it. Whereas Fortnite, Warzone, and PUBG are all more or less offering the same gameplay loop in different wrappers, Wildgate is just about nothing like Hunt Showdown, which is similarly unlike Escape from Tarkov. What they do share is a constant risk versus reward calculation forever running in the back of players' minds, knowing whether to push on for some incredible loot or to escape with more modest winnings. But more importantly, your life intact comes down to feel. It's a gut check more than anything. By now, any half-decent extraction shooter knows how to toy with this sense of risk, but Arc's art direction, audio design, and great pacing made me feel like my best rounds were the game telling my story. When I died early in my first 2 rounds, I was just a red shirt, an NPC bad guy there as fodder for some other daring raider who braved the terrain's hostilities to escape with precious resources. But on the missions where my GameSpot colleagues and I travelled, fought, and scraped out wins for 20+ minutes at a time, those were our moments as the story's heroes. The PvPvE landscape is a robust story generator, with plenty of patrolling robots seeking out those foolish enough to head above ground in the post-apocalyptic world that involves both AI and climate disasters in its story. I saw a wide range of enemy robots, including massive, intimidating walkers that reminded me of AT-ATs from Star Wars, to small, nimble drones that had no weapons of their own but could call for backup in the form of 3 more drones with guns on them. Malevolent machines forced GameSpot's Tom Caswell and me to dodge roll into shadowy corners or dash into open windows, waiting for patrols to pass like rebels infiltrating an Empire base. We'd trek across empty stretches of desert between major landmarks, feeling vulnerable to anyone who may be spectating us through a sniper scope, only to zipline hundreds of feet into the air and find our would-be loot haven had already been ransacked. Leaving empty-handed and with time dwindling down before we'd be stranded there, we headed back out into the oppressive sun, under which more enemies heard and unheard lingered nearby. It was as though we were trapped in the monomyth and facing down threshold guardians. In another session in which GameSpot's Ben Janker joined us, we were making chit-chat when we were ambushed in what seemed like a well-coordinated effort by an enemy trio. It felt like the sort of rough and tumble action moment you'd catch in a movie, where the good guys had let their guard down and had to fight tooth and nail to get out of it merely to learn their lesson. Never mind escaping with any particularly special guns, vital crafting resources to build up the base back at home, or cool tools like the absolutely must-have grappling hook. Perhaps any one of these moments doesn't sound like more than something that would be pretty neat, but when they were paced out to decorate each round, Arc Raiders became a memory-making machine, stitching together encounters that felt like they told a larger story of our triumphs and tribulations. I've likened the game to Star Wars a few times deliberately, as the sci-fi world's blend of high-tech robots and a grease-lathered fighter pilot aesthetic very much reminds me of a more grounded Star Wars. There are no Jedi, Force powers, or lightsabers here, but if you compare Arc Raiders to something like Rogue One or Andor, the similarities are much more apparent. As the titular raiders, player characters feel scrappy and outgunned in all ways except their spirit. They're fast and athletic to a point, but slow-moving stamina refills remind me they're humans relying mainly on a desperate need to survive. Fighting the robots always felt like guerrilla warfare. We'd strike as opportunists, slithering out of dicey situations as soon as the risk factor clearly outweighed the reward. The mental math is harder to solve for in a battle with other players, where variables increase exponentially as each player brings their unique playstyle to the skirmish. Thankfully, the game's sound design is incredible and instructive, helping me evade some battles or letting me get the drop on others. Designed by former Battlefield developers, it's no wonder Embark's debut game already seems to be tracking as a top-tier audio experience in video games. Far-off gunshots, nearby pings of loot caches, and the creeping, stealthy scuttle of an enemy trying to sneak up on you all come to life with immersive, layered specificity. Whenever I play Battlefield, I wonder how it is that no other multiplayer game sounds nearly as rich or interesting. There's less chaos going on most of the time in Arc Raiders, but in terms of how much you can depend on what you're hearing when making combat or travel decisions, it's similarly masterful. Optional proximity chat, with a toggle that's easy to use even on console, a rare treat, enhances each encounter further. Will the team you run up on be friendly, hostile, or perhaps deceitful? That's for you to find out each time, much like I did in my first 4 hours with the game. 3 minutes after our demo ended, the game's preview build was shut down for good, with servers coming back up when the game goes live publicly on October 30th. I went into Arc Raiders knowing little about Arc Raiders beyond some basic facts. I came out of my 4-hour session with some virtual cuts and bruises, plenty of stories to tell, and an eagerness to get back into the game as soon as possible.